Okay, welcome to Ring Talk, episode 43. I'm not Martin Theobald, as you can see. I'm Max Budgen. I'm the B-side for this week, unfortunately. But with me, I've got Steve Goodwin, and let's get underway then. So, let's talk about last week down at York Hall.
Yeah, some good fights, some really good fights, and what many thought was a major surprise in the main event, Wadi Camacho turning back the years and some more to beat Arfan Iqbal. It was a amazing performance from Wadi Camacho.
Yeah, brilliant, and I think it was a bit of a funny ending to the fight. Arfan fell through the ropes and couldn't continue.
He hurt his back, although, as Arfan said, if he'd been able to continue, he wouldn't have won anyway. He said he was losing the fight. Wadi was the better man on the night. He'd been put down at the end of round 5. And as Arfan said, it just delayed the inevitable. He couldn't continue with his back. He'd like to have gone and tried, but he said the way it was looking, he didn't think he was going to. He said when you reflect on it, you weren't going to win anyway, so it's no excuse. He said the better man won. So full credit to him for saying that. Yeah. For Wadi, it was a terrific performance. His training team of Terry Coulter and things, Alex, and the other chap that's done a lot of work on strength and conditioning, has done an amazing job. Tactically, they pulled it off with a brilliant performance. And Wadi's, who was, people thought he was finished, didn't they? And
he looked in fantastic shape as well.
He was. And he definitely, in my opinion, fought the best fight of his whole career. So full credit to him. I was delighted to see Michael Ramabeletsa, after all his whole journey, turn around and become a champion, in defeating Ryan Walker, who will come again. So that was really, really good. Some good performances on the undercard. I was particularly impressed with Brandon Ball, who in his 4th fight recorded his first stoppage. He's a very young man, but he's definitely improving vastly. Martin Foru won on points after winning a KO on his debut. He performed well. He put his opponent down, Snieds, nearly got there. We had a great atmosphere of Xhulju Vrenozi, 300 Albanians in York Hall. Did you see that?
It was fantastic.
My God, the noise was electric. And the thing, Dillon again, he won on points over 6 rounds, and he's definitely going to be in for titles by the end of next year, if not before. So I was delighted with him. James Costanzo came back after a long layoff, and really, he wasn't the greatest fight in the world, but he managed to get the win. Paul Greenidge, he had his 2nd fight in 3 months after a layoff, so he came back and won as well. I'm just trying to think who else. We had a couple of Alec Wilkes, Hassan Ali, ID Hill came back with wins as well. So overall, it was a good little show. Unfortunately, we had 2 reversals, so we'll deal with them. Gharib, who will be back on the 2nd of March. Brilliant amateur, Mo. 80 fights, I think it was, an amateur, but unfortunately he's not made that transition properly from amateur to pro. He neglected all of his brilliant amateur habits to try and become a knockout man as a pro. It left his chin and was put down 2 different rounds. So he's going to learn from that. That doesn't matter to him as long as he learns, but I think he will. I think he understands where he went wrong, and I still think Mo will end up being a champion. And Chris Lawrence from Kent had his first fight for us. Unfortunately, if you fight, you've got to throw punches, and he didn't throw enough. And it was a disappointing performance by him, and it's something we need to go back to the drawing board and sort out. But it's just punch output wasn't enough, and he lost. And it was a fair decision, the fact that he lost on points. But it was a great show overall. We had everything from this crazy Albanian crowd to the 2 title fights. It was absolutely excellent. So it was a good night, and I think most people in the crowd really enjoyed it.
Yeah, just with those reversals, sometimes for fighters, it's almost the best thing that can happen to them, and they come back and they've learned from the mistakes that they've made. Whereas if they keep bowling people over or picking up the points wins but scraping through by winning by a round, they don't learn as much from that as they do from the defeats. So
I think it's very important that the fighters, as they go through their career, have tests. It's not that difficult. If you want to build a fight as a 10, 12 and 0 with not ever giving them a fight and then throw them in the deep end, that in the past has been a way that some managers do operate with their fighters. I don't agree with that, because when they get thrown in the deep end, they can't cope. Whereas I would rather them be tested as they go up. If at times they should, they're all in fights that we believe they should win, but if they come up short, there's normally a reason they've come up short, and normally it's not a reason that as a manager that that it's our fault. It's more of a thing that they are doing something wrong, and both Mo and Chris, they now know what it takes not to lose again, and hopefully if they don't take it on board, then they're not going to make it. So that's life, and then they're going to have to say, well, maybe boxing is not for me. However, if they take it as a positive and say, this is what went wrong, I'm not going to let that happen again, it can be a positive. Look at the people that have lost early on in their careers. Manny Pacquiao, Johnny Nelson, etc., etc. There's loads of the examples. Bain McGuigan. But they come back and become champions. There's no reason why these lads can't do well and become champions at whatever level that their ability allows them to get to, but they've got to embrace what's gone on. And I spoke to Mo Gharib today, and he was really focused on putting it right, and he's taken that loss really well, and I think he'll bounce back bigger and stronger from it.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing him back out in March then.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look forward to this week then. Obviously we've got a show down at York Hall, and also Frank Buglioni over in Monaco. So talk to us about that.
So yeah, we're going off to Frankie. I think we covered it before. We had opportunities for Frank. We had offers for the Jose Alberton fight.
Yeah.
We had offers for Anthony Yard, and we had the Fan Long Ming fight.
Yeah.
And what you have to weigh up is what the fight's going to get you, how much money you're getting paid, and what you feel is the most appropriate fight. And we went for Fan Long Ming, not because he was the easiest of the three. We don't think he is, but it offered the best risk and reward scenario for us. And a win against Meng, taking his Intercontinental title, put Frank in a good world ranking position. So we're going to give it a go. And Frank's record against southpaws is very good. He's in amateur and pro. He's really handled southpaws. He loves fighting southpaws. So from that point of view, that was also a big thing when we decided what to go for, and he was a southpaw, so Frank really thought that was the most appropriate fight for him, so we as a team decided, and hopefully we made the right decision. But win, lose or draw, it's always the right decision beforehand. We think Frank will win, but it's a competitive fight on paper and a competitive fight at the bookies as well. Down at York Hall, I'd like to say that it's full of title fights. There's one cracking fight on there, which is Sam Gilley against Ryan Toms. I think that's a brilliant fight. And the rest of the show, which we'll come through in a minute, is mainly built on it's the fighters coming through towards the big title fights. The Sam Gilley Ryan Toms fight is a brilliant fight. Sam Gilley is a prodigy of Rod Julian, and he's looking superb. Ryan Toms just come off a knockout win against former Olympian Fred Evans. So Ryan, who's a former Southern Area champion, is a massive test. I think it's a great fight. The rest of the card is based on some super talent. If we just run through the card, and I've just got it down because we've got 15 fights, it's easier to read from the card. We've got Vasile Nedelcu, who's making his debut under Xavier Miller, a really exciting fighter. I think anybody going to York Hall Saturday, make sure you watch Vasile's fight, because he will be coming for war, and it will just be literally it'll be a real firestorm of a fight, and I'll be looking forward to seeing that fight when I get back to UK on Sunday. William Webber, who has been a delight to manage, is undefeated since signing with us, and he takes on the tough Croatian Syrett Iliev, who fights everybody that's ever been known, including people like Anthony Yard. It's a good fight. Ramez Mahmood, who's managed by Mickey Amu, he's en route to Southern Area title, so he has a 6-rounder. Louis Syrett, who is now with John Cole and is definitely an improving middleweight. He's out. Kieran Leinster makes his debut from Barry O'Connell's gym in Hammersmith, and Kieran's an exciting talent en route hopefully to big things. Callum Myles, a youngster that's now trained by Adam, I can't remember his name now. He's South London. I've just had a brain freeze, so I don't know Adam is. But yeah, so he's basically coming back and from a first fight for a new trainer. He takes on Ricky Rose. Good fight for him. Jabran Khalid, trained by Mark Patterson, Ollie's dad. He makes his professional debut. Really exciting talent. I'm looking forward to seeing him. So I'll be watching him visually on the day after.
Yeah.
Tony Bange, who used to work with Prince Naseem, he had his first fight with us after a long break and had a bit of life or death with Kevin McCauley, and I'm hoping that on Saturday he gets rid of that and puts that behind him, and he has a much more comfortable victory. He takes on Dale Arrowsmith. Ben Smith, a good fight this. Ben Smith, who's trained by Mark Tibbs, I'm free. Mark Tibbs. He takes on Mwenya Chisanga, and that's a good fight because that Chisanga does come to win, and Ben Smith is a good talent, so that's good. Graham Tyrrell makes his long-awaited return after a couple of years out of the ring at middleweight. We're looking forward to see Graham, big ticket seller, and he's also very talented. So he's only probably 3 or 4 fights away from the title mix. Harlem Eubank's on, which is obviously a name he's been on Sky. Yeah. So looking forward to Harlem fighting. He's always good to watch.
Yeah.
Dennis Wahome, who's had a break because he had a bit of a medical query, and he's now back on it, and he's going. And Alan Sinclair, a super bantamweight, Robbie Lloyd Taylor's on. So what you've got is a lot of very exciting prospects fighting, and this show always had to be that because I've always said that I knew I was going to be in Monaco a long time ago, and it was very important that I don't want my fighters in 10-round title fights if I'm not there. I think it's really important I'm there for big titles. Yeah. And you can't say, if I've got somebody in the southern area, how do I choose between Frank in Monaco and the southern area title? Yeah. You can't just say because Frank's a bigger name I go to Monaco. No. So I don't want to be in the position where I'm caught in 2 places for big fights. So I'm over. So we've therefore the bigger fights are next week and were last week. So it's an exciting little card full of exciting talent. So if you want to get down to your call,
tickets still available as well.
Tickets still available. We've got to get them on the door as well.
Perfect. Well, these shows are important for Goodwin Boxing as well. And the fighters. It's not all about the big shows and the big title fights. These are the learning fights for these guys, and at the stage they are in your career, and you're providing that platform for them to move along. And they're as important as the big shows.
Because this is how they learn and get to the big title fights.
Exactly.
So it is the baby of the 3 shows that Amy's promoting this weekend. It is the baby of the 3, but it's still going to offer us some excitement. And the main top of the bill, Gilley Toms, is a cracking fight.
Yeah, cracking fight. That one. Cool. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing on the agenda then. Obviously, the news has come out this week. Well, there's been some articles out today about Taylor Jones has pulled out against Linus Udofia. So, just want to tell us a little bit more about that and where we're at now. And I think.
Well, obviously, look, I take everybody at their word. He's injured, right? Yeah. So. I accept he's injured. I'm not going to say nobody's lying. He's injured. We were told 4 or 5 weeks ago that he wasn't going to fight by lots of people.
Yeah, I think you mentioned last week.
I've been mentioning it before he pulled out. And so we sort of, Linus was warned that he was going to pull out. He pulled out. Maybe he pulled out because people knew he was carrying an injury and didn't think he'd be ready. We hope he'll fulfil the revised date, which is in March, which is 9th of March 2019. The date's been agreed. So providing everything's right, he'll turn up and he'll fight Linus on the 9th of March, and I choose to believe that he will do that.
Okay. Well, we won't talk about that anymore then. And next on the agenda is Wadi's re-signed for 3 years.
Yeah, Wadi's done 3 years. I mean, we've had quite a lot of our boxers re-signed. A lot of our contracts have come up after 3 years in the last few months. We've got some coming up, and it's great that they're re-signing. 9 out of 10 boxers at the end of 3 years do re-sign with us, and I think it's testament to the job that we do. Those that don't, sometimes what happens in boxing is people will whisper in somebody's ear and promise people something, and the reality of what they're told sometimes doesn't work. We sometimes think we've got a good bond with somebody in life, and you think you've done a brilliant job, but sometimes it doesn't work that way, and sometimes they may pay the price for that decision afterwards. But at the end of the day, at the end of 3 years, everybody's got a freedom of choice. So there's no hard feelings with anybody if they choose not to resign. But those that do, we try even harder for them in the second period than we do in the first. But we give everything we can to every boxer, and it's very nice, and it feels rewarding when so many want to resign with us, which is great.
Perfect. Right, so we've got some questions now. Sorry about my unprofessionalism. It's Martin's fault. He was supposed to be here, but so I've got the questions.
You came in about.
Yeah, I've stepped up, so I hope you enjoyed being taught this week. Let's start with some questions then. First one is, so Steve, winning the purse bids for the English title for K Prosper and Linus Udofia Southern Area title, shot delayed due to Jones pulling out with injury. Could we see both fights happen on the same card in Luton early next year? And I suppose you've probably already covered this off with.
Well, number one, the first thing is I'm the manager of both the fighters, but it's different promoters that have won the purse bids.
Right.
So it's not as if the same promoters won the purse bids, so there are two different promoters.
Okay.
So the first thing is that won't happen because they're on two different dates with two different promoters.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't happen. The second issue would be that it's not always conducive to put them both on the same card. Both of them want to earn the maximum that they can, and it's beneficial for them to be boxing on separate evenings because they will maximise their earnings because they're not on TV. So it was always a structure that I was talking different promoters to making the different bids so that they wouldn't clash. Right. So it was a deliberate it was a different thing because I believe that will make them the most money. Yeah.
And I know I've seen on social media that Linus has been down to Kenilworth Road. Is that something that potentially in the years to come perhaps you've got to fulfill for him? And,
definitely. Especially if you can get, if they get through if both of them win their 2 fights here and we can get some either sponsorship or television interest in them, there is nothing to say that is not a possibility. Maybe in the summer of next year.
Cool. Okay, so next question is from Sam Khan. Why Johnson v Buatsi? What is going on with Yard?
Right, well, I presume my understanding is that Anthony Yard was given a final eliminator against Hosea Burton by the board sanction, and he withdrew from that. And that does mean that when you do withdraw from a board official final eliminator or a title, that you then do lose the right to compete for that title for a certain period of time. So therefore, at the moment, Anthony Yard, I would assume, is in that period of time when he's not being considered for the title. Hence, they've therefore ignored him. You should, if he had wanted to fight for the British title, all he had to do was turn up and beat Hosea Burton, and he chose not to. So that's their decision.
Okay. Cool. Next one is from UK Boxing Fan 6. So, in a generation where a consumer can get anything we want at a touch of a button, small hall boxing will surely have to evolve. We're seeing MTK shows on IFL and VIP on theirs. Is Goodwin in danger of being left behind? Which is interesting because I listened to Martin's podcast today actually, and Terry did make a few good points on there, so I'd be interested to hear what you say on this one.
I don't know what his points are because I haven't listened to them. Cool. But I always say to Terry, and we have some streams, he's not a promoter.
No.
And therefore, when he does say things about promoting, I don't know what he said this time, but when he does say things about promoting sometimes, he does it without his money being at risk as a promoter. And he does it more as a boxing fan than the actual thing. And I always say to a lot of people, it's easy to make observations. Now, I don't know what he said. He might have said good things, or good things.
No, he did for once say good things.
Oh, did he? So, not for once. He does say some really I think Monday me and Terry will have to have a film then to across the table. I think quite fun.
It would.
I think that'd be a good idea one day. Me and Terry head to it. Right, the bottom line is simply this. I don't believe that people sitting at home have the entitlement to receive anything for nothing, right? From boxers who are not getting paid money from rights fees. So put it this way, when we watch Sky, or we watch ITV, or we watch these television channels with sportsmen on it, including boxers, the television network is paying money to the boxers. The boxers are being paid fees, and people at home, either through the BBC licence fee, ITV through advertising, Sky through subscriptions, are paying to receive that content. When you have a small hall boxer who is not receiving money from any of those sources and is having to sell tickets or generate his own money through getting people through the door, it makes no logical sense to provide free content. Nothing has told me that this works. VIP Boxing Steve Wood, a good promoter up north, has been doing his television VIP for 4 to 5 years. Nobody has shown me that his boxers make any money from that. They don't. So I don't actually understand. No, I understand it's being streamed, but unless there is money for boxers out of it or some benefit, what on earth are you doing it for? Because boxers will lose money, because a lot of these shows up north are emptier, because people after a while think, my mate's going to be on television, I can watch him on the internet stream, I'm not going to spend £40 a ticket. So nobody can tell me that streaming it for free does not impact on boxers' financial rewards.
And I think on a side point from a different sport in football, and now you can watch all the midweek games live from the EFL and the Championship, and they have said attendances at those games, in midweek games, has dropped, because if you don't have to go and leave your house to go and watch your team, you can watch them on the telly. People are going to be inclined to do that. So I think that kind of does translate to what you're saying as well. That
so what are we being so I'd like to ask the question and ask a question back. What are we being left behind from? I think we're being left behind from nothing other than lost revenue. Now, so I actually don't get it. But the actual thing, when you put these, if you look at the viewing figures, right, of these shows that go on live, it's always saying at the end of the day I've got 10,000 views or 15,000 views, right? These are individual views that are watching for a few minutes and then switching off again. So you're getting a lot of people watching their mates, switching off, watching their mates, switching off. You're just going to get to the stage where it's going to affect boxers' ticket sales, and it does affect the ticket sales, and it will affect them. So I would like somebody to say is, why does it make sense? And what does annoy me, and I don't want to get too annoyed, are people that sit at home, right, and say, why can't I watch it for free? Well, the reason you can't watch it for free is these boxers are training their bollocks off night and day, working on a job, having to sell tickets to pay for it. So pay for a ticket and come and watch them. If you don't want to pay for a ticket, come and watch them, watch the televised stuff. But it really annoys me that people don't grasp that they need people at the arena, and therefore, and all you get is, why can't I see it for free? Well, you can't see it for bloody free. So I don't actually feel we're leaving it behind. I do believe, picking up on the point, I do believe that the future is in this type of production, like DAZN are doing it in America, and I believe eventually it's going to be the way boxing is watched. But until there is an advertising stream, and until there is money coming in that boxers can benefit from, I believe it's an ego thing of putting your stuff out there. But I don't see the viewers figures aren't enough to generate serious advertisers to the things. I don't actually get why people do it. No. I don't get any benefit that boxers, and this is what we're talking about, boxers achieve from it, other than people sitting and going, can I watch the Wadi Camacho Arfan Iqbal fight for free? Well, if that was free, Wadi would have lost money out of the show, Arfan would have lost money out of the show. Why should people sitting at home ponce off the boxers and watch content that is not, where the boxers are not getting paid by anybody? So my attitude to anybody at home moaning is, don't question it, go and pay and watch, or just let it go and do something else.
It's interesting.
Is that fair?
Yeah, no, definitely.
What does Terry say?
It's said that, well, he did say that the Goodwin boxing model is creaking, and he started talking about how, you know, these shows are being streamed, and he was talking about Steve Wood and the like, and saying that, you know, Goodwin aren't up to scratch with that side of things, and how perhaps you need, there's a model that I think was a good point, that you could look at perhaps having a paywall where, like you did with your season ticket, and you paid £150 for the year, and you can come to as many shows as you want, pay a subscription fee, and you can log in and watch the shows on a live stream platform.
Do you know what I'm going to say to Terry? Terry, get a promoter's license, do it, make sure you've got a nice hefty bank balance, and lose some of your money. Do what Tommy Dove done, lose all your money. Nonsense. People won't pay behind a wall very much money. They're not watching the MTK and Steve Wood with enough volume when it's free. What says they're going to pay for it behind a wall? And they might, and those that do pay £2 or £3 behind a wall, right? They're just depriving the boxers out of money. Terry's always about the boxer. So what he wants to do is deprive the boxer of money, let the promoter go and do some money. Who's going to pay for the production? Who pays for it? If you want to throw money at boxing, if you want to throw money at doing it, MTK do. That's up to them. They've got enough money to do it. That makes sense. So Terry, it's not creaking. Come on, let me and you sit around the table and do a head-to-head film for a bit of fun.
I've thrown him under the bus here a bit, I feel.
Sorry? But I always say this to Terry. We disagree about so much. And a lot of his views, and I'll say about Terry now for listeners, a lot of his views about, like, he's got very good views on PEDs, and views on, he knows a lot of information, and he's a very good judge of a boxer, and he's a very good judge of lots of things. When it comes to promoting shows, he's clueless. Terry, I'm afraid you're clueless. Because some of the stuff he's saying there is nonsense. He's not creaking. It's that we're choosing to try and make sure our boxers get a higher revenue of the money coming through the gate. That's not creaking. That's a conscious decision to try and do the right thing by our boxers. That's all it is. And I think it's great work. I mean, I like to watch the MTK shows. Some of the fights, not all the time, but some of the fights. Steve Wood. Now and again, I'll watch a bit of the VIP if there's a top of the bill on. But it doesn't make sense until the product is good enough to get advertisers and the viewership is enough to get advertisers in. Paywalls do not work. If you think a paywall works, go and speak to Mick Hennessy when he did Huey Fury against Joseph Parker behind a paywall. Ask how many views they got. If you can't get a paywall for a world title heavyweight fight, how are you going to get a paywall working for York Hall Small Hall show?
And I think that's probably the issue all round with this level of boxing that we're talking about, is that perhaps it doesn't appeal to the masses, and that's the issue you've got. So yes, we love boxing, and the guys on New Age Boxing obviously love it. They want to talk about it, and it's important to them. But your average Joe in the street knows nothing all about boxing, and therefore people aren't going to pay for something that they don't have an overall interest in, other than when someone like Anthony Joshua fights. Correct,
and you've got enough Sky shows with Eddie Hearn free to watch on a Saturday night. Was he running 20, 30 shows a year going to run through Sky, whatever it is? Why on earth are we talking about we're going to run a paywall against that? Seriously?
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Total, utter nonsense. But if a paywall works, the easiest thing to do is go out and do it yourself and show us how to do it. So until somebody wants to show me how to do it, concentrate on your boxing, ignore the promoting, because people don't know anything about promoting until they've tried to do it. And that's the thing. Please stick to what you know.
I think there's plenty of cases where you...
Tell me, he's a friend of mine, by the way. I like him, but honestly, he's talking absolute rubbish.
And you've got case studies that show exactly that trying to do the streaming model doesn't work. So
I've seen Steve Goodwin VIP. He does it and it's great, the boxers like it, but what does it achieve? Doesn't make them more famous, doesn't make them a TV boxer. What does it do? Explain to me, somebody explain to me what it does for the boxer selling tickets. Please explain it. Show me the benefit.
There we go. Looking forward to the head of Terry anyway.
We should do it around the table, it'll be good fun.
Cool, so this is again kind of, well, it is about, well, it's not about streaming, but it is about streaming. From North Bank Bren. I understand not streaming the shows, but why?
Good.
But why are shows filmed and put online a few days after the event? This would surely benefit fighters' profiles.
Okay. So there's the first implication of if we can put a lot of fighters don't want their fights on the internet because they want to if they're fighting in small hall for titles, they don't want their fights to be out there for other fighters to watch them. So we get a lot of fighters that when we used to do this said, please don't put my fights up. Didn't want them up.
Okay.
Because they said, well look, we don't want to show people what we got when we're going to fight for big titles. We don't want to give our footage away. Right. So a lot of fighters don't want it. That's for starters. Some do, but some don't. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, if you're going to put out, just for example, the video for somebody taking at the back of a hall, it's not the greatest quality. Yeah. So to do something like that, you want to put in a good quality thing. Who's going to pay for it? The bottom line is, who's going to pay for it and what's going to be the benefit? Once again, if you inherit money or you've got an endless supply of money from another source, or you've got a business over there that's earning you millions and you can pump money because it's irrelevant, then you can do what you like. Mm-hmm. When you're trying to make sure that you don't lose money and promoters struggle to break even, honestly, struggle to break even, who's going to pay for that and why are they going to pay for it? There's going to be no revenue if you put something on 2 days later. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense. A boxer, let's get this quite straight. The objective as a manager, which is what I am, is to take my boxer, develop their careers, and then take them to a TV network where they get paid. It's a really simple process. It's about developing them as managers and using shows to build them to TV networks where they get well paid and become famous, right? That's what you're trying to do if their ability allows them to do it. Mm-hmm. The fact you're streaming their fight 2 days afterwards and you spent $5 grand on production, why would you want to spend that? It doesn't make any sense. What is a boxer going to get from it? If somebody could show me, and I'm a financial advisor, so all they've got to do is show me a financial benefit of doing all this stuff, and I'm not talking about a financial benefit for me or any promoter, just make sure they don't lose too much. Show me a financial benefit for the boxer. Because it doesn't make any difference. So you get 150 views watching their fight 2 days later. So what? So what?
So are your shows filmed at all, or you don't?
Yeah, they're filmed. They're filmed. I'll tell you what happened. We did last year, and this annoys me as well, right? We had the Leon McKenzie Cello Render fight, which is fight of the year, right? Yeah. people that didn't pay to go and watch it, right? So people again poncing at home, right? Poncing at home, wanting something free again.
Yeah.
And that includes a lot of people, and I really mean this. And I don't mind people poncing at home getting something for free if you don't demand something. If you get it and you watch it, it's good, but don't demand it. We had lots of demands saying, we want to see this fight, we want to see this fight. So we ran a GoFundMe page, right? And we said, when this reaches, I think it was £1,000, we will then give Chalorenda £500 and we'll give Leo McKenzie £500 and we'll put the fight on so everybody can watch it for free.
Right, okay.
Got about 150 quid. So everybody can fuck off. Seriously, because it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Don't ask, well, if you just put a couple of quid in to watch the fight, give it to the fighters who are giving them all. That was one of the most amazing fights I've ever watched.
Yeah.
They deserve something if it goes out there. So it's never been shown. And the point is, it just irritates me. Why can't we just give these warriors something? Don't keep expecting something for free. It's different with Sky, paid money. Different with Box Nation, given money. It's different with BT Sport, given money. So you can have that for free. Okay, some of the things don't pay them enough money or the right money.
Yeah.
But for me, the job that I have to do is I have to look after my boxer and get them as much money as I can out of the sport and try and make sure that they're well off when they finish and choose the right fights on the way through. Until we get the streaming right, until we get the streaming where the viewing figures are high enough, and until the boxers get paid for the streaming and people get some money out of it, then we're not really interested. We're not left behind. We're just not stupid enough, in my opinion, to wait to do something to deprive our boxers of money.
There you go.
Have I covered enough?
They won't be streaming at any time.
Can we please not ask this question ever again? If you do disagree with me, it's fine. But if you do disagree with me, then do a show, stream it for free.
Find the facts, find the figures, find the numbers, and
then talk to me.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So next question is from Box Live. So I'll just read it out in its entirety. Terry, something you've mentioned before and discussed this week, cash flow. I don't think any home fighter under a promotion agreement is having their full purse put in escrow before a fight, Joshua. Maybe Steve can clarify.
Don't really understand the question, but let me talk about escrow and what escrow is used for. Frank Buglioni is fighting on Sky this weekend and obviously receiving a decent amount of money. Right, he's fighting on Sky and getting paid. Why do I need it? Escrow is something where you pay the money in before he fights so that you know that at the end of the fight the money is secure and you're going to get your money. He's fighting on a Matchroom show. No, I don't have 1/1,000,000th of a question that he's going to get paid his money next week. So there's no need for escrow. The need for escrow is when you believe that the promoter is suspect. So if you're fighting, whether it's in America or UK or wherever it is you believe, if you think your promoter is suspect, then you do escrow. I know that Audley Harrison used to tell me that he used to insist on escrow. And that's because he was always protective. Now, if you feel your money is not sure, then that's what you do. And I know other fighters in the UK have done that before. I've never had or ever asked a promoter to use escrow for any of my fighters' money, and they've all been paid.
That's not common.
It's not that common. It's common if you don't trust promoters. I've got 2 fighters I manage at high level: Nicola Adams with Frank Warren, and I've got Frank Buglioni with Matchroom. They've both fought. They both got paid. There's no escrow.
Cool. Right. That's that one covered off. Okay. The next one is from Old Tie Paul. If you could go back and give yourself one bit of advice for when you first started out in boxing, what would you tell yourself?
Don't do it. Come find something else with your life. Don't get caught up in it. Because
you say that, but you know you've been doing it for what, 5, 6,
8 years?
8 years now.
Yeah.
So
8 years ago we did Milton Keynes.
Wow, no, what, Harry Matthews? What?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but you say that, but you know you're still doing it now, and you've obviously got a real passion for it, and you say don't do it, but really, surely you wouldn't change that, and you wouldn't say I wouldn't do it, because you know I see you love it and you buzz off it, and it's a massive part of what you do. So, but
if you actually look at it in reality, you get it's a hard thing to do. It's not financially advantageous. You don't, honestly, compared to what I do the rest of my life.
Yeah, of course.
It's not. So I don't do it for the money. You get a lot of pluses out of it, but there are a lot of negatives that come with it as well. But I think in reality, boxing, if you do it, you get a bug for it and you do it. But I think if you don't get caught up in the first place, you wouldn't know what you missed.
Yeah.
So therefore, in hindsight, you'd probably say that for somebody new coming into it, you know, why are they doing it? What are they? Because you get a lot of negatives, which is you get stabbed in the back so often. Honestly, it's just unbelievable how many people stab you in the back or lie to you.
Yeah.
And that's not very nice.
No.
You know, and you're probably getting stabbed in the back sometimes, I would say in the last month, I've been stabbed in the back twice. Okay. That's twice in a month. Now, if I went back a few years ago, you got upset. I don't get upset anymore. No. But you get people treat you, think that's disgusting behaviour. But you see it happen, and you just have to accept it in this sport. But in no other walk of life is it this bad.
No.
So from that point of view, it is. But there have been some really big highs. Mm-hmm. But if you took take the horse racing, Max, you was involved when I was doing horse racing, right? I loved it.
Yeah.
But I stopped it. How many years ago now? 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Cut from something that was my big passion, went to nothing. So you can walk away. It is a very. I do love looking after people and the good people like Wadi Camacho and Arfan Iqbal. Both of them are class of my friends, and I like them both. So you know full well that for both of them, I want to stay friends with them when they finish their boxing careers as well. And therefore, that's a great thing. But for every Wadi Camacho and Arfan Iqbal that there are, really loyal, decent people, there's the odd one here that's not so decent, and it's quite difficult to take when you are a decent person yourself. So it's a hard thing to get into, and it does cause you some upset at times. So that's the difficulty. So the advice is obviously generally probably not the right thing for a lot of people to get into. Secondly, if you do want to get into it though, genuinely do be very, 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 very careful who you deal with, who you associate with, and probably go and learn off somebody. However, the problem you got that is I don't want somebody coming into me to pick out to learn all the things that we've done, because you don't. They might go off and take it to somebody else. But you need to learn it on learn exactly who's who, who's what, and learn the way around the ropes, because it's a very difficult industry to be in. Very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. On to the next one. This is from Will Michael 83. Your favourite crisp?
Salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar. What brand though?
I don't care.
No, just S&V.
Crack on, S&V.
There we go. Cool. All right. On to the next one, which is from LPC 1231. Steve's mentioned previously that he believes he could provide a better show for TV than a lot of the current televised shows. Has he ever thought about providing us with a dry run show with all the TV bells and whistles, but without actually having the cameras there?
Right. So let's go through. What are the TV bells and whistles? Because if you go to York Hall, you see the staging we set, which is better than most TV shows. So the staging is better.
Yeah.
So the only thing you would put at York Hall apart from that is a lighting rig around the ring, right? Which we don't do because it costs $2.5 grand, $3 grand to erect, and a few lights coming up from the sides. So in terms of what we do, I think we can show with just that little example that we would be able to do a very good job. However, when I was talking about a TV show, I was talking about the quality of fights. Now, if we take Frank Warren and take Eddie Hearn out of this, because we've got to say that they've got the best fighters in their stable, so the best fighters. But if you're talking about the rest of the shows that you may sometimes see on other networks, I believe that if we were running it, that we would be able to put better fights, better quality. The whole thing would be better. I look at some of the production and somehow it's run and think, oh my God, that's terrible. So I believe we could put better fights together. We could make the show better. We could make the experience better and the visual better. So that's really what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say for 1 minute that I can put a better card together at this stage than Frank Warren, or provide a better show than Eddie Hearn. But what I'm saying, there are enough freelance boxers who are not tied under contract that you could go out and make a really, really good television production. However, to make it viable, it has to be on a platform that gets numbers. So we are talking about a terrestrial TV channel. There is no point having a TV platform that goes out to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 views. It's rubbish. It's got to be to a proper. So you'd be wanting to do it on a place that's going to give you 200, 300,000 views and that sort of number of views, maybe 100,000 at a push, but that's the sort of numbers of views you'd want to get. But I believe that if a terrestrial television network wanted to build a product and build it properly, that we could build them a product. And you've got to remember, Eddie Hearn's shown you how to do it before, and you could take most of what Eddie Hearn's done, take an example of that, take it to another network, and build a product. So in terms of doing that, I haven't got the money to put the fights on to do that. If somebody would like to give me £200,000, I'll put a show on and show them. But without the money, we can't put it on, can we? No. So, but the principle is, I think we can show that the fights we put together at small hall level, what we could do if we had the budget to put it on at the top level.
Okay, well that covers that off. Next question is from Oscar Smith. We covered this one already. With Steve winning the Perseverance Fingers title for... yeah, no, we've covered that one. That's coming to us, not sure why. Okay, next one. Does Steve think there should be a clearer... a clearer delineation? I'm not too sure what that says, to be honest.
Delineation, yeah.
Delineation between a boxer's commercial manager and their boxing manager, so as to avoid those without licences circumventing the board processes. To that end, is the board powerless to stop people without licences actually involving themselves in a boxer's management or career?
Right, so let's look at this. This is becoming more common, where you get a boxer's commercial manager comes on, and commercial managers can be great for a boxer's career because they're great at finding sponsorship and putting fighters on television programmes and things like that. So they're good people to do, I think. But what happens is these commercial managers, they want all of it.
Yeah.
So therefore they try and either say to a boxer, you self-manage, we'll manage your boxing career. So that's how they tend to get around it.
Okay.
Because they haven't got licences to manage a boxer. So you get a lot of boxers who officially go self-managed and get the commercial agents to do the management. There's only one problem. The commercial agents aren't clued up on boxing. And some of them make some serious errors of judgment. And I can tell you, I can't say it on here, but my God, do they make some bad decisions. Are the board powerless? Well, they are to a certain extent, because there becomes a manager on paper that's not the real manager. That's the problem. And the manager, the person goes around saying I'm the manager, if they're ever pulled in, they say, I'm just a commercial manager. And so it's a very difficult situation with the board, because sometimes it becomes obvious what's going on. So it becomes do they pull them in and deal with it? But in reality, I think they're a little bit powerless to do it. But boxers really need to be very careful about doing that.
Is there something that the board could do around self-management then? Is that something that perhaps they could look at and say, you know, boxers shouldn't be self-managed and there should be what you could probably do is, if they had the time, to say, is this boxer really doing the management decisions? Who's making the decisions here? Who is doing this? Is this person who's down as the manager? The other thing in boxing is there's a lot of people down as managers of boxers who aren't really doing the managing. The person who's doing the managing is not the licence holder. That's really common as well. So it's up, you know, and sometimes it becomes apparent what's going on. Yeah.
Do the board do anything? Sometimes you look and think, well, that's quite obvious, but nothing happens. I think there is a real problem out there where, but then you see what you get is, you get some of the people will say they're just a representative, they're not actually officially managing, they're just helping them. It's a very grey area for the board. But yeah, the commercial aspect is a problem, because I've seen some really shocking things that they've done and led boxers down the road to doing such crazy things because they don't know boxing contracts, they don't understand them properly, and sometimes they can make the wrong decisions. I think every boxer needs a good boxing person. Remember, there's a lot of people that are boxing people that are clueless, right?
Yeah.
So you need a good boxing manager who really knows his stuff, has got the right ethics, has got understanding of finance, legal side, and everything to look after the boxing side. Whilst the commercial agent can concentrate on getting them all the commercial deals. And I think the crossover really shouldn't be happening, but I'm afraid it does. And I think a lot of boxers make errors in doing it that way.
Okay, cool. Next question. If you had free reign, what would be the top 3 changes you would make within the rules and regulations of the sport, inside or outside of the ring?
But the first thing is the titles, these world titles, interim titles, super titles, really shouldn't have so many world bodies, but if you do, they should have one world champion. No interim world champions, no super world champions. That has now become a total joke. You can get a fighter now getting a world title who's not good enough to win a world title, and it's becoming irritating. That should stop immediately. But as anything in life, when there's that amount of money involved and sanction fees, then and promoters want it because they can advertise something as a world title even if it's not a world title. You know, it's just, you can have a super world champion and a normal world champion and an interim world champion. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It confuses people as well that aren't as clued up on boxing, and you know, people said to me, "I don't get it," and you have to try and explain it, but
it doesn't sound right, does it?
It just doesn't make sense.
How can you have 10 world champions, which is ludicrous, right? So it makes no sense. I understand commercially why you might want to have 4 world champions, right? It's not ideal. I can sort of accept it. IBF, I can accept it. But when you've got the interims, it's just ridiculous. So get rid of them now. But I don't know how you get rid of it, because there's not one ruling body that decides that. So I think that becomes the different. The second thing is something that I've gone on about millions of times: purse bids, right? The amount of boxers that go to purse bids, then they will lose a purse bid, and they then pull out. Now, bearing in mind that some purse bids can have a 6-week leading period to the purse bid. Then they go for a purse bid, and then after the purse bid, they either withdraw for the fight for injury, or they pull out because they don't want to do the fight, and they pull out for injury, and then they withdraw 2 months later. They can stall a boxer's career by 2 months, 3 months. I believe any fighter who goes through the purse bid process and does not withdraw before that purse bid is opened should have their licence suspended for a period of 3 to 6 months. And I think that's what should happen. And that would stop people holding up people's careers. I've had examples of this happening. I had Wadi Camacho, Isaac Chamberlain, when he was mandatory for Isaac Chamberlain, and it went right through. Purse bid was won, then he pulls out. Why couldn't he have pulled out 5 weeks before and allowed Wadi's career to participate? Wadi lost months of his career because of that. So when you got Isaac Chamberlain chasing Wadi for a fight now for the Commonwealth title, Wadi rang me today and said, irrelevant to the money, why do I want to give him what he did to me? He messed my career up. So you understand that. Now Isaac should have been, in my opinion, he's not suspended because that's the rules. But they should be saying, okay then, you've held up somebody's career, you're now suspended, your career is going to be held up. It's the only way to stop it. So I want the board, there's something else to say, if you pull out after a purse bid, don't just fine them because they get fined. Suspend them. Suspend the licence, because it's the only way to stop people ruining other people's careers. So it's a big thing. I'm really keen on that.
I agree with you.
Okay. And the third one, I want the end of pay-per-view boxing in the UK. Right? So let me talk about the end of pay-per-view boxing. And I agree with this first part. In America, I've seen interviews with Frank and Eddie, right? I've seen them in Monaco this week. But I've seen interviews where they're saying, isn't it great what we're doing in America? We're getting rid of these $80 pay-per-views and we're replacing it with a monthly subscription. Isn't that wonderful that fight fans now can pay a monthly subscription and watch the boxing? So we're advocating here that isn't it great that they are rescuing American boxing? Which I think is great, and I agree with them here. So we accept that a subscription service is the way forward, and you can deliver on a subscription service. You can deliver Canelo, right? You can deliver all these other fights in America. You can deliver them. They're talking about signing Golovkin. They've got a big budget. Great. So we've proved that a subscription service can deliver. But yet in the UK, we have a subscription service in Sky where people pay quite a bit of money for that, right? And then you've got BT. So we're paying a subscription service. But here, you got to pay-per-view because subscription's not enough, right?
Because we're only paying £20, not 80.
But that's okay for the pay-per-view. That's bullshit. Just make sure that Sky, if Sky are going to do boxing, make sure the subscription is maybe even if it's £3 or £4 more if that's what you want to do, or £2 more. But we're paying enough for this. We're paying enough for the model. Where does it come? And tell me this then, right? If Manchester United are playing Liverpool, why is that not pay-per-view? Why are we doing pay-per-view football? Now, you can't say in America you're rescuing the market from pay-per-view, because over here, you're getting pay-per-view galore at £20 a pop.
We're getting fleeced, aren't we?
Getting fleeced. So, I agree, but you can't have it both ways. Over here, we need pay-per-view, but in America, we don't need pay-per-view. The model over here should be that a DAZN or Sky Sports should be funding the boxing. I don't buy it. It doesn't make sense, because before pay-per-view was in Britain, right? Pay-per-view started. and then when it started and it stopped, did we not have any good fights here? We still had the fights.
Yeah.
We still had the fights. But pay-per-view is just making people more and more greedy.
Yeah, and I think as a fan, you know, you look at shows, you know, like Usyk Bellew was going. It was a shit show. There was one half decent fight. Usyk Bellew. There nothing else on there was particularly.
There were fights like the Vic Kapori fight was okay, but these are just normal Sky
But you don't see that on a fight night.
And the same as the Ricky Burns against Scott Cardle. That's a fight night fight.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the Usyk Bellew fight, and you'll argue that you couldn't get Usyk to fight other than that. But Usyk, because that's the first time. Usyk is a 15 fight world champion, right? Mm-hmm. He's not fought on pay-per-view before, has he?
We would have fought on.
Well, not on WBSS, right?
Yeah.
But that's just funded by. Yeah. But you've got to really. I mean, it's like Brexit, right? At the moment, you believe what the bullshit's coming here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. Just cut the bullshit out. Look at what's real. What's really simple. Boxing existed without pay-per-view, and in America they're trying to move it from there, which is great. Yeah. But over here we shouldn't have as many pay-per-views. I don't believe these fighters. You know, at the end of the day, take Dillon White, Derek Chisora. I feel free to talk about that, right? Yeah. Now, are you telling me, really, honestly, that fight is worthy of both boxers getting £2 million each?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Not in my opinion.
So I don't know what the figures are.
Great fight.
But really? Is that a fight where both boxers need to earn £2 million? Of course not. So don't tell me that's really it's pay-per-view because Dillon has, and I don't blame the boxers, because why shouldn't Dillon and Derek get as much money as they can? Yeah. I don't know. I have a problem with the system, because if the system was not pay-per-view model, I'm just giving you a figure, and both fighters were getting 500 grand, right? And that was the going rate for the fight. That's what they'd have. Yeah. The pay-per-view model has made expectations, demands get out of control, and the people that are paying for it are us, that want to watch it at home. And it's been, so therefore I don't buy it. I'm not convinced that we need, you know, they just got, but why shouldn't, you know, that shouldn't be enough.
It's a huge contradiction, isn't it, to say that in America we need to move away from it a bit, in the UK
we want to keep doing it.
It's getting more and more of it because every single channel is going pay-per-view.
Total contradiction. So come on, let's trip it apart.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, right? So to me, it's just BS. It shouldn't. What I would like, however it is the end of pay-per-view and a subscription service. I've got no problem with, and we pay for the subscription and we watch the best fights. I do not believe the fighters need to earn. To have pay-per-view and be earning 2 million, 3 million out of a fight. If they were earning 500,000 or $1 million, that's enough to set them up, and they have a couple of them. That's more than enough. I don't believe because it's the fans, the people that go out and work and earn 20 grand a year, 30 grand a year, 40 grand a year, are having their money drained to pay for pay-per-views so that these fighters can get an extra million or two on their purse. I don't believe that's right. And you can't say to me that if in America you can't believe it. It's great to get rid of it in America, and in Britain, so it's great to promote it. It doesn't make sense, right? I hope the DAZN model becomes a massive success. I hope the DAZN bring their model to the UK, and then they're here, and Sky will then have a choice to say, okay, we have to come out of boxing and let DAZN take over, or Sky have to come in line, because that's what we got to hope as boxing fans, that the DAZN model comes into the UK and all the pay-per-views get knocked off.
Let's hope that happens then.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Good question.
What's a good question?
Okay, next one is, where should the line be drawn in protecting a boxer's well-being, both physical and mental? Watching Anthony Ogogo chase his dream of returning, I fear heartbreak both ways, no licence or getting a licence and breaking in the ring. Is there an argument that if a fighter has to have certain reconstruction, so surgery types, it automatically stops application, therefore not stringing out a boxer's hopes, or should they be allowed to try every possible route available?
So the first thing is, we've got to take on board restraint of trade, right? You could argue that if a boxer is not allowed to apply for permission to ply his trade without any rule evidence, then, I mean, without being a specific lawyer on this aspect, then there's got to be a question mark as to whether a body like the board can actually do that, okay, without having a certain procedure. I know that when somebody asks about a board, can I have a professional license? You know, if somebody goes to the board and says, I'm 52 years of age, I'd like a professional boxing license, they can't say no. They have to say apply. then they would apply it, and then I would assume they would be turned down. But I think they can't say you're 52 and not doing it. They would say and the standard line with any board, and I think it's right to say every application is considered on his merits. And I think the same would be medically. The same would be the same. If a boxer wants to try and prove that he's medically fit to box, they are entitled to do that. The board have very, very stringent medical guidelines. They are really tough. So, therefore, if a boxer is not fit to box, he will fail at the medical stage. Now, in the Anthony Gogo situation, until the board's medical panel would, for example, see the situation, receive all the medical reports that he's ever done, they're not in a position to decline. Okay. Now, whether they do decline or not will be based on what they see. So I believe that Anthony has that without knowing thing, has the right to apply, and the board have the right, when they look at the medical thing, to decline. So he's chasing his dreams. What, if you twist it around, what right has he not got to chase his dreams until he's medically certified unfit?
I've seen the videos of it as well. His eye looks horrible, but good luck to him, and hopefully he gets back in the ring at some point. Okay, on to the next one. This is from Oliver McManus. Following on from DJ Boxing Blog's fantastic article, as a boxer, is it better to be talented or popular?
Okay, it depends on what level you're at. Because if you're talking small hall and you're not popular, no matter how talented you are, you're in trouble. Because if you don't have a fan base, no promoter's going to put you on. So that's the problem with small hall. When you are at a high level, then Chris Eubank was unpopular.
Yeah.
But he was very successful because he was talented and people wanted to see him lose.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of a difficult question. I think on small hall, you have popular,
sell the tickets.
Talent becomes the other thing as well. You need both, really. Yeah. Because if you're not talented but popular, it only takes you so far. But if you're talented but aren't popular, that's not going to take you anywhere. So you need both at small hall. At a higher level, you need to be talented. But more and more promoters now, unless you're an Olympian, are wanting to see that this person has got a fan base and is popular, because they want that. They don't want 8 talented fighters on their card who sell 2 tickets because they're not that popular. So I think, in a summary, generally you need both. One without the other is not good enough.
Okay. This one is from Oliver again. This one is about Mike Ramabeletsa. Will he be looking to fight the winner of Jazza Dickens, Brad Foster for the British, or is there a different plan in place?
Well, at the moment, we've just won on Saturday. The thing with the British, whoever wins out is going to have an amount of time before they can do a defence. So we will sit and look. We may get offers to defend the English. That becomes an option. We will sit and see what offers come in. But Michael is willing to fight. Would be willing to fight for the British title. He's also willing to do a defence of the English. But there are, the main thing for him, Michael, was to go and win a title and then see where it takes him. And that's where we sit there. We're not in a position to make any demands until the mandatory position becomes open on the British title. So at the moment, where we sit is we're English champion. We're open to offers to defend that English title, and we'll be looking to move on to these other titles as and when he can be put in a position where he can qualify for them.
Cool. That answers that. There's one here. How much of a bottle job is Taylor Jones? What are the actual chances of the Udofia Jones fight ever happening?
Right. I can only say what I've been told. I would hope that the fight will happen. I am told the fight will happen. If it doesn't happen, I think I choose to believe, because I've always thought, I've watched Taylor Jones as a fighter, despite the fact of what he calls me off on his little podcast. He can call me live, but I can only say what I see as a fighter, and I've always found him to be a real warrior. So I would be very disappointed if he finds a way out of fighting Linus Udofia. So I think I believe he'll fulfil his obligation. If we get to this fight somehow when it's due to be scheduled in March, and there's a way he wriggles out of it, then I think that would be true. But I hope, and I believe and hope that won't be the case. So I don't call Taylor Jones a bottle job. I think he's a warrior. But if he's trying to avoid Linus Udofia, then that will come out in time. But I choose to believe that he's going to go through with the fight.
Okay. On to the next one. I think this is our last question now.
Okay.
So it's around tickets. How many tickets does a fighter need to sell to be able to fight? What is your call's capacity? And that's it.
Call's capacity is, I think it's 1,200.
Yeah.
How many tickets does a boxer sell? Depends on which show it's on. Depends on who the promoter is. Depends on what the deal is.
How many rounds is it as well?
How many rounds it is, what the arrangement is it a 50-50 fight, is he just fighting a 4 round against a German? It's all totally, is it a 10 round fight, is it an 8 round fight, is it a title fight? There are no specifics on that, and it also varies slightly between promoter and promoter. Tommy Duff, for example, introduced a really favourable system for boxing. He was a good man, but it was so favourable he lost his money and had to quit, and that was really sad. But he tried to be really fair. So, you know, there has to be a model that makes sense for all parties, where boxers can earn but promoters can survive. Cool, that's the answer.
Okay, well, I think that ends this week's episode. Good luck to Frank out in Monaco and all the guys fighting in the show down in York Hall. Enjoy your time out there, Steve. Good luck. Hopefully you come back with a win. And Steve and Martin will be back next week.
Thanks for stepping in, Max.
No problem. Cheers, guys.